All right, welcome back to the Reeducation Podcast. Karen O'Toole is joined by, once again, Collin Miller. I think this is the first time we've actually recorded back to back 2 weeks in a row, which means we're on a streak. I think kids have like a name for that on Snapchat where you like snap every day. So it's lost on me, but we're on a streak. We are on a streak today. And actually, speaking of kids, Collin, we're going to have kind of like a holiday conversation today, but also a conversation on being a millennial versus Gen Z, kind of like aging and realizing that Gen Z is now calling the shots on like what's cool and we are now old. And Gen Z has a thing called like the tragic millennial. So as you listen today, you're going to find out if you are a tragic millennial. So keep listening to hear a little bit more on that. But first, I wanted to talk about with the Gen Z. I wanted to bring this up to you because I know you're going to have strong opinions about this.
Me have strong opinions?
Yes. Last year, my cousin's now fiance I tasked everyone at this dinner to tell me what their favorite Christmas movie was. And he said, no joke. And he's somebody that really likes films. He likes he's into having a critical opinion. His opinion was not Home Alone, but Home Alone 2. Now, hold on. I have to add to this. I recently was listening to a podcast with people with a similar age, kind of like the beginning of Gen Z, the end of millennial, like right there on that divide, like he is. And this person also said, when having to think of their favorite Christmas movies, they did not say Home Alone. They specifically said Home Alone 2. So I don't know if these kids are just like really, Donald Trump's in that one, right?
Yes, he is. As a matter of fact, he was nice enough to give the young Kevin McAllister directions to the lobby when he asked. And wow. I don't know if you watched it on Disney Plus, like he might be taken out and replaced with like Jabba the Hutt or something like that. But I often, Karen, have this debate amongst myself, truth be told. What is the better Home Alone? Is it the original from 1990 or is it Home Alone 2 Lost in New York City from 1992? I feel like, you know what? I was going to say that I grew up watching Home Alone 2 more, but when I think about it, I probably grew up watching both of them an equal amount. And looking back, I haven't watched them yet this holiday season. I did watch them both last year. And one of the thoughts that I remember having is I think Home Alone 2, the slapstick physical humor was a bit too played up this time around. It was almost, I mean, the premise itself is completely, bonkers and unrealistic. Like this kid is just gonna know how to set up all these booby traps around the house. But now in Home Alone 2, he's at his uncle's place in New York City or whatever. Like he's never been in this house before. He figured out how to rig all of this stuff up in the matter of a couple hours. And it's like the first movie, you could suspend your disbelief. My critique with the second one, it was a little bit more difficult to suspend your disbelief. I mean, there's even a scene where Marv, he has his hands on what does he have his hands on? It's something electrical, and like he's getting electrocuted as he's covered in paint and he's sopping wet, and like his face for a split second turns into like a skeleton. Like it's almost a little bit too over the top for me.
Yeah.
But I do. But then again, Tim Curry, man, as the not Tim Curry, man, Tim Curry, Space Man, as the hotel manager, and Rob Schneider as the bellhop. Oh my God. That was such a new creative way to introduce that VHS tape. Angels with Filthy Souls, if you remember, was the title of the original.
I don't remember that. Okay.
But you know what scene I'm talking about. Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
Yes. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I do remember. But like, so I thought I wanted to know what your thoughts are. Like, why do you think that? Now, I have to also mention that the movie did not come out. The movie would have come out before these people were born. They were all born in like 96 to like 98. So both movies came out before they were born. So it's not as if like they just watched the movie as a 4-year-old and thought like that's it, or a 6-year-old and we're like that's Home Alone, even though it's Home Alone 2. But like you said, I mean, maybe they're just like these secret alt-right Trump fanatics, and that's why they're so passionate about it. I really don't think that that's the reason, though.
Millennials were born in 1980 up to what?
I believe it's 1996 is where like the cutoff is. So it's like 95, 96. One of my cousins who I am like very, very close to, and I've been close to, like she was a freshman when like I was a senior in college, and she would skip school because she just doesn't care. She didn't care then. Yeah. There's no point. So she would skip school and I would be like off from class and we would just like hang out. So she just always like, we were always just really close, like growing up and everything. And she definitely to me like epitomizes like the beginning of Gen Z. Like my brother Sean and my brother John, they are both clearly they are clearly Gen Z. And she's like on the cusp. Like I start to see like different sentiments and different like technology and music. And like I even heard a Gen Z person say that Justin Bieber's Christmas album is a classic. They called it a classic. And I was curious, like, how do you define classic? But I think it's kind of me grappling with understanding that like we have a new generation coming up and we're kind of becoming old people. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like listening to these conversations makes me realize like, oh, wait, like we are the older people now. We are becoming the tragic millennials, and Gen Z has another great example, which I would love to hear what people think about this. I think this is actually blasphemy and sacrilegious. But I heard someone explain, they said that their favorite Christmas movie was The Grinch. And they meant, well, I know, you're far.
Oh yes. My God, what a trash film.
I think the animated version came out before that. I think. And then a friend of mine just told me last night, they saw it on ESPN. A guy similar age, like 27 years old, said, they asked him what his favorite Christmas movie was on ESPN, like one of the talkers or something. And he said, the original Christmas movie, The Grinch with he said, The Grinch, the original with Jim Carrey. Your face
is there another one? Like, there's
another one that just came out like a year or two ago. Not live action. Like it was maybe it was animated in some way, like with computers or something.
Why would you need any sort of follow-up to the original classic Grinch cartoon? That makes me so angry that somebody even thought of that. And if that's your favorite Christmas movie, like you should be waterboarded, honestly. Seriously, you are the most...
Great.
What an uncultured swine to say that Jim Carrey's The Grinch. What an awful movie in general. What a low light in the career of the brilliant Jim Carrey, who, by the way, is also, in my opinion, a very good dramatic actor. I think he's a very well-rounded, like if you've ever seen the movie Man in the Moon, where he played Andy Kaufman. My God. Mm-hmm. He is so good in that. He's such a talented guy.
The Truman Show, The Majestic. He's excellent. Simon Birch. I mean, yeah, that was the first movie that ever made me cry. So, maybe tonight you can sit there and watch it and cry a little bit. But yeah, it's just interesting to hear. And like I said, it's really like the lack of education too, where it's okay for me to hear you say, like, I was 3 years old or 4 years old and I saw the Jim Carrey's The Grinch, and that became my favorite Christmas movie because nostalgically, like, that's what I grew up with. I'll give you a pass. But to not know that listen, the Grinch, the OG Grinch came out decades before I was born. And when I was a kid, I went to go see Jim Carrey's The Grinch in movie theaters. But as a child, even at 8 years old, I understood that this was not the original Grinch. So I really feel like, I don't know what's going on where these kids are not being taught that like there's films that existed before you were in it, like before 1985. Like, I don't understand what's happening here where these younger people don't even understand. Like, how do you not know that that's not the original Grinch? Like, I think that's unacceptable.
The original Grinch, because I didn't know what year it came out in 1966.
That was the year my father was born. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And like, honestly, when you think about it, it's not even really that long ago when you think about how, 1966, that was like one person ago. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like I said, I don't comprehend how you don't know that is the original. Like how bad
parenting,
like
I would say.
Right?
Like
yeah,
those children should be taken out of the home, honestly, and placed in a decent home where they show them real films quality, such as the original Lethal Weapon, starring the great Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, which is a Christmas movie, by the way.
Interesting.
I would probably say that is a better Christmas movie than Die Hard. I know that that might be a very controversial statement, but as far as the action Christmas movies go, I think that Lethal Weapon has the edge on Die Hard. That's just my opinion.
Mel Gibson versus Bruce Willis. I'm going to go with Mel Gibson 100%.
Yeah, you would think that they would see that they would have seen the original Grinch just from like then again, they don't really watch TV really.
But they did, because even in this conversation, one of them mentioned like the ABC Family. So was it ABC Family not, which, hold on, in their defense, I have to say, over the years, I would watch when television was still more prominent in my life, and like when I was kind of like a teenager, when they would have been younger.
Yeah.
I remember trying to, which I'm only talking about people that are like 5 to 7 years younger than me. Like I'm acting like they're 30 years younger. They're not even a decade behind me.
I might marry somebody 5 to 7 years younger than me,
But on the condition that they know which is the original Grinch. You are not allowed to marry anyone that doesn't know which Grinch is the original, unless they don't speak English. But
yeah, that's acceptable.
There should be a translation. But like,
by the way, side note, I was talking to this girl on Match, like, and it seemed like she wanted to communicate in Spanish, even though I did ask habla inglés. And she said yes, but then proceeded to still talk in Spanish. So I'm trying to keep up a conversation using like Google Translate. And I'm thinking like, well, if you really meet this girl, like, how are you gonna like, because obviously her English is not that good. And I'm thinking, well, does it even really matter? Does it even really?
No,
I'm not going to meet somebody who's into Seinfeld, on the level that I am, and like is into Van Halen. So it doesn't even matter. They just have to be a good person, right? I mean, that's really the only thing that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah,
am I right?
And that they know which Grinch is the original. Obviously, like that has to be like, you have to be like donde está? Like, actually, that's not how you say it all.
I think that's where you're from. No, isn't
yes,
donde está?
Yeah, where is? It means where is. Donde eres is where are you from? Hey, donde eres? Yeah, where are you from? Actually, I shouldn't say where. Yeah. Donde eres is like, because there's a different way to say like are now, and are is like a person existing. So, but yes, yeah. I mean, I totally agree that doesn't matter. I'm sure the Grinch was translated to Spanish many years ago, and I'm not saying that I like completely hate that version of the, because even at my little brother, he was born in He was born in 99 and he like contends that The Grinch, Jim Carrey, is like one of his favorite movies, like his Christmas movies. Like should I disown him from my family?
You might have to. I remember one Christmas up at my grandmother's house in where I'm from in Pennsylvania. I'm not going to announce that, but you know where I'm from. I was at my grandmother's house. This is my dad's mom. And yeah. And I remember my aunt, so my dad's sister, who I guess at the time they were living in, I don't know if they were living in Connecticut or Michigan or wherever the hell they were living, but they were in for Christmas. And I remember her giving me my present was a VHS copy of The Grinch starring Jim Carrey. And I remember my aunt saying like, "Oh, all the kids love this movie." Like I don't even think I watched it, but before she gave it to me. Because even back then, like this wasn't something that seemed appealing to me at all. Like Jim Carrey getting all made up. Like the whole movie is a little disturbing too, honestly.
Yes.
I don't think it doesn't even give you a good feeling. It doesn't leave you with a good feeling.
So last year I watched it. Because I have a friend who likes to go to bat for the Jim Carrey Grinch, which I will say, he said to me last night that he would definitely never put Jim Carrey's The Grinch before the original Grinch. And I was like, I'm glad you said that because I was about to never speak with you again. Yes. Yeah. I think he was a little nervous, but I said if that is not that. Yeah, he doesn't even he just knew I was cutting him for the rest of his life.
Let's be honest here.
Like we will never talk again. These are fighting words. Okay. So but I will say so like last year I gave it like an honest watch. Because I had not seen it in forever. Because like I said, my parents took us to the dollar movie to see it. Like they didn't take us to see it because they were excited about it. They were just like, how can we pretend that we like these children for the day and get them out of the house and not have them bother us? So they took us to what was called the dollar movie, which was like we would see. So it probably came out in like November of like 98. And we probably saw it in like June of 99 or something like that. Is that 2000? Was it 2000?
Yeah. Yep.
So I was a little bit older when I saw it then. Okay. But yeah, so we probably saw it like not during the holiday season because it was at the dollar movie. So it wasn't like where you paid full admission. It was where you paid it.
Where was the dollar movie? Was this an
New
indoor?
Jersey. Somewhere in New Jersey, in like South Jersey. And so yeah, we probably saw like post Christmas. Like because like it was just about to go to VHS and they're like, let's go to the dollar movie. So they would pay $1 a piece for us to get in. And it was all the movies that had already had like their first run at a real movie theater, which we never saw the inside of. Like we did.
We had a movie theater like that. I don't want to say what town it is, but you know what movie theater it is. It's a triplex theater.
Yes.
My dad used to go to that same movie theater. He always tells a story about how the nuns marched them down to that theater to go see what's that movie musical set in Nazi Germany.
A Sound of Music.
Sound of Music.
Andrews. Yes.
He always tells that story.
Wait, so the nuns, it was like the nun's favorite movie because they get to leave the nun, like being a nun. Because that's the whole point of the movie is that she was a nun and she leaves being a nun to marry the guy.
All I know is that...
Did you think about that? Like the nuns were like, you're going to see that. Did they see it more than once?
How about I never really even watched the whole movie? Okay. I don't even... never...
So Julie Andrews' character is a nun. And she's like I think she's becoming a nun. And she's a little on the fence. And then she goes to be like an au pair for the Van Trapp family. And they sing a lot for some reason. These kids all sing, or she teaches them to sing. Something bizarre like that. They ended up in the United States, I think. But
we had a questionable nun in high school who was like she was like the type of nun. She was younger and like you would like definitely like take
She
her
was a
out for
little
like a
hot.
nice
She
evening.
was
Like you definitely thought about
like, you
it.
definitely like you were in the confessional confessing to have impure thoughts about the nun.
Yeah, she was interesting. But anyway, I didn't mean to
That's my cousin dated. It's just actually a really fun tangent. My cousin dated a girl who was going to become a nun, and we all called her. She met the Pope, like John Paul, the real one,
yeah,
not
not the
this
fake Pope.
socialist. Yeah,
Yeah, the communist Pope.
she met John Paul II, because of her father was like one of his miracles, I think. I don't quote me on this, but we called her Pope Girl. That was her nickname. We're like Pope Girl because she met the Pope. But yeah, so they ended up not obviously not being together. He's now married, but to not the Pope Girl. I don't know if she is still a nun, but the Philadelphia Inquirer wrote like an article about her because not a lot of young people were going into the what's that called? What
The
is that
seminary?
called? The No, but isn't there like I guess not priesthood, but well, it's convent, right? For nuns, it's like a
Right, the convent. I don't think there's anything wrong with dating a nun personally. I think they should be allowed to go on, like cute little dates. I never understood like where was it written that you must take this vow of celibacy if you're going to be a sister or a priest and that's only in the Catholic religion. Am I right?
believe like there might be in some faiths, but for the most part, I would say it's predominantly for Catholics. But I believe don't quote me on this because I'm not Catholic, but I know that Paul, is it Paul speaks about not somebody one of the apostles says, and this is horrible, I don't know this, but he says like, don't get if you can't, it's best to not get married and just commit yourself to working for God. But if you have to get married, get married. And so I think that
what a dumb thing for Paul. Like, yeah, you don't do it, but I mean, if you have to, I guess go ahead. It's
that's
not going to
literally
be
what it says. It's like pretty much what it says. So I think he's just saying like
Oh,
it would be awesome if you could dedicate your life to, because when you get married and especially when you have children, your priority kind of becomes your spouse and becomes your children. And the point he's trying to make is that your priority being Christ, primarily. And so I think that the thought is in the Catholic faith that like, okay, if you're going to be a priest or we want you to be committed to Christ and that being your mission and your primary focus. So
what
like
if you
that's
get
where
lonely though?
I know. I think I agree with you. Well, my one of my mom's uncles, so he's older now, he's passed, but she's still alive. His second wife was an ex-nun. She had already left the nunnery, I guess you call. I don't know. She would already not be. Yeah, she no longer a nun.
I'm picturing like a bunch of hens sitting on eggs, even though that was, I don't know why I associate that with.
Yeah, I think back in the day though, like I've heard some interesting stories about like nuns in Appalachia, and I believe that before the modern era where women had a lot more freedoms, like they didn't have as many freedoms. I'm saying we have more freedoms today.
Right.
And like being a wife and a
look
mother
at the
was
state
like
of the
your
world. Kidding. I'm joking.
No, you're not.
Lord, I apologize.
But before that, like the nuns, you kind of it was, for some of them, it was kind of like a little bit more, I don't want to say liberating, but in some ways for them, and like I said, I'm not Catholic, so I don't really know that much about it, but I've heard interesting
I am Catholic
stories
and I don't know anything about
I don't
like a
I've heard
typical
interesting
Catholic.
stories about like nuns, like I'm driving and doing things that were not predominantly for women, and having some of those freedoms and taking on different roles that women wouldn't be able to do because of their calling. So I think in some ways it's I don't know. I agree that I think that they should be able to get married. I think the
It's not a
priests should be
natural
able
way to
get
live
married.
life, like to tell somebody like, yeah, you can never be involved with another human being on that
Yeah.
level.
I think that like a better option would be to kind of preserve, if you don't want to get married, preserve kind of the way they've set up for housing and for lifestyle and kind of like the community they've created. But if you do want to get married, by all means, go out and get married. One of my favorite priests on EWTN, me and my grandmother would watch. This is what I did in college. Me and grandma would watch EWTN. She literally would have it on all day. Like, and I must get this from my grandmother too, because she would like have EWTN on and the local radio station on. And I'm the same way. Like I have like 7 things playing at once at all times at my home. I have like a radio show or a podcast playing on my phone and then background music on my television or something else. Like I'm constantly going to have some kind of noise coming in. And I guess I do get that. But we used to watch EWTN and I remember like my grandmother and I like wondering what happened to the one priest that we really liked. And then we found out he got married. And I think he was from Alabama. Like
saw through the whole scam.
So, yeah. So me and grandma would like really like that's as much as Catholic as I get. That like my grandmother was Catholic. My parents, my dad was an altar boy. My mom was a Catholic school graduate. My cousins and stuff were like altar boys, altar girls, if that's a thing. I mean, they seemed like they knew what they were doing. Like, I don't think is that a thing? Altar girls? I think nowadays it is.
I remember I was never an altar boy, and I remember being mortified during high school where they would select us because we would have mass like every Wednesday morning. So somebody had to, be down there like carrying the cross and sitting in the chair. Oh my God. I remember I had to do that one time. And you know me, I do not like to be the center of attention or be in front of a large crowd of people. And there's a lot of that in the Catholic religion, I find, where it's putting you in uncomfortable positions that you don't want to be in front of a large group of people. You got your communion, you got your confirmation, you got this isn't in front of a large group of people, but it's like, okay, you're gonna go inside this box and tell this stranger all the bad things that you did, all your deepest, darkest secrets. I'm not a big confession guy. It's like I will tell God all the horrible, nasty, awful things that I've done to my fellow humans, but I'm not telling all the
thoughts you've had about Elizabeth Hurley.
Yeah, all the impure thoughts about Elizabeth Hurley, and that whole rigmarole. But I don't know how we started talking. Yeah.
We actually were talking about the nuns taking your dad. I know we completely went on a tangent about Catholicism. That maybe this is like therapeutic. Like you're just like, I need to bring up all of these tragedies from my Catholic upbringing. But no, I think the real conversation was we were talking about the Dollar Theater and Jim. I will say, I think that Jim Carrey, that movie. So we've talked about Gen Z loving that movie and Home Alone 2 and how these people are going to the future. Like they're going to have, like, this is where our country is going. Like America will not survive if people think that the original Grinch is Jim Carrey's The Grinch. Like, can we just take that for a moment that like, that's a real, like, I understand that there's a lot of reasons why you people think that America is on the brink, why China's on the up. I bet you Xi Jinping knows which Grinch is the first. And I bet you that he makes sure that those people know which one's the right Grinch. Okay. I'm sure he knows.
It's mandatory Grinch viewing from 1966.
Yeah. You guys will only have this Grinch, but I'm just saying, like, of all of the benchmarks for like, I don't think benchmarks is right, but all the markers of America's decline, I think that this new generation coming up thinking that that's the original Grinch is really a dark sign for our future. It's a dark future that lies ahead of us. But we didn't really talk about the movie so much. I will say, so last year I gave it a watch because, like I said, I saw it at like the Dollar Theater, and then it would come on. Oh, that's what I was saying. ABC Family. You would watch the ABC, like the 25 Days of Christmas. They would play all the garbage movies 24/7. So maybe that's
Yeah.
why these kids, yeah, in their defense, I do want to stop and just say that real quick. In their defense, you would have the real Grinch would be on at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. And then they would play Jim, right? Like,
Right.
and then they would play and then they would play Jim Carrey's The Grinch every night at like 8 o'clock for like for hours. Or like they would play like the Rudolph meets Baby New Year. Like they would like you would only Rudolph would come on the real ABC like once every Christmas because like all the advertising dollars were behind it, and it probably cost them like a lot of money to air that. So like the real Rudolph would come on like December 15th at Sunday at 7 o'clock or something, or like after NFL.
Yeah, it was always on a Sunday
something.
evening. It was like a family event, really.
Yeah. So then if you were watching the 25 Days of Christmas, you were like, it was like Rudolph and Frosty meets Father Time was shoved down your throat like every single day. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then like you would have to watch, and then they started playing like Harry Potter movies for Christmas. And I'm like, you are screwing up the future generation. Like that is the downfall. Like I know some people say video games like Call of Duty. No, the 25 Days of Christmas starting to play Harry Potter was the end of this country. Like mark my words, the end. Because that is not a Christmas movie. That's sick.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of push back a little. Like I'm gonna lightly push back because I'll tell you what. The original Harry Potter movie, directed by Christopher Columbus, who also directed Home Alone 1 and 2, Mrs. Doubtfire, truly a visionary of our time and of our generation. That first Harry Potter movie, number one, is the only good movie from the Harry Potter franchise. And that is in large part due to Chris Columbus's he really captured the whimsical feel that the original book had and translated that onto film. That didn't happen with any other Harry Potter movie. It only happened with the first one and the second one. And that first one does have a very sort of holiday, Christmas time by the fireplace. There's lots of snowy scenes in it. There is a Christmas scene in it. I mean, granted, there's also a Halloween scene in it too.
I'm hanging up right now. This is over.
Listen to me. The first Harry Potter is actually,
it has a Christmas scene. It's a little bit more family friendly and more. And I think that kind of works for the Harry Potter series because the kids get older as the movies progress and things get a little bit like deeper, darker, more emotional, more weighty. So it kind of made sense that Christopher Columbus did the first two, because they're supposed to be like 11 and 12 years old. So it is more, right. It kind of gets progressively a little bit more adult, which makes sense because that's how your life progresses. So yeah.
Not only that, if you swap out the score, John Williams' great score from the Harry Potter movie, swap it out with Home Alone. They actually did that. There's a YouTube video out there where they swap the music. Then they put the Home Alone music in, the Home Alone score into Harry Potter. Oh my God, it fits perfectly. The two scores are like interchangeable.
Yes. So in terms it was a good score. You're right. I actually had that on CD for Christmas in 2001. That was my Christmas gift. So yes, I will agree with you there that the first movie, but I don't want to see The Prisoner of Azkaban when I should be seeing, A Year Without a Santa Claus at 8 o'clock.
Oh yeah, no,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
anything like after
fill airtime, play it at 10 a.m. on a Thursday. That's fine, but don't it's kind of like AMC would do the Horror Fest, and you couldn't see
Monster
the original
Fest.
Monster. Okay, yes, yeah, and they would only play the actual Halloween like once. And like I said, it would be like on October 2nd. And then the rest of the month, it was the one with the clown girl. Like the whole time, it was just
Jamie
Halloween
Lloyd.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would primarily show 4 and 5 like a lot.
Ad nauseum. So
Yeah.
I think for these kids, like, yeah, they're like, their mom and dad are just like, put on the television. The television's raising you. Excuse me, I got COVID. And I don't.
Or white lung. It could be white lung,
white
Karen.
lung,
Have you heard
yeah.
about that?
I think the Grinch is coming to curse me, like the witches. But like,
I'm excited.
so yes, for a white lung Christmas. I'm dreaming of a white lung.
A white lung Christmas. That's the title of this episode. you made the title right there.
But like, but really, these children, they would have to sit in front of the television, and they probably saw the Jim Carrey's Grinch so many times that all they could do was like, and I'm sure back to the Home Alone conversation, Home Alone probably never got played. It was probably always Home Alone 2 that was on television. So it's warped these children. It's completely warped their minds. And this is the end. This is pretty much the end. I call my sister, she's 13. I just call her Generation Apocalypse, because after that, it's really like, I'm going to actually make sure next time I see her, I'm going to be like, which Grinch is the original Grinch? And if she gets the answer wrong, she's going to have hell to pay. So that's where we're at. I'm going to threaten my 13-year-old sister's life if she doesn't know which Grinch is correct. So, but I think in their defense, I do believe it has to do with the way television rots your mind. And that's just a really good example.
What kind of culture do these kids really have? I mean, when you think about it, we were the last generation to experience what I would refer to as peak America, which was the 90s. That was truly the last decade that had any sort of culture, any sort of feel. Like, when you go through the decades, you think about the 50s, you associate certain things with the 50s, certain music with the 60s, 70s, 80s, etc., and so forth. What do you associate with like the 2000s? Like, I just think of George W. Bush, like, on the screen talking about the evildoers. That's the only thing I associate it with.
The 90s has gotten so popular, and it's funny because my sister is so much younger than me, and at school, like, I remember her getting annoyed because she's like, all these people think they know the 90s. And she's like, my brothers and sisters actually grew up in the 90s. Like, she had like street cred because her siblings actually were from the 90s. And a lot of that has become popular. Like, the 90s have become popular. And it's brought up like a lot of like, you see like reels on Instagram and stuff of like people like showing you like the 90s style and all that stuff. And I've been seeing reels that talk about like kind of like when we were in high school in like the 2000s, like early mid 2000s. And I've seen stuff like that, but it's like, yeah, I see the clothing and I see some of that, but there's not like a real strong presence, like you said, like there is for the 90s, like the grunge, some of like the Doc Martens, the television shows, the movies. Like, I can't even name you, besides, like you said, Harry Potter. Like, I can't even name one movie that came out. Like, what was that movie with Judd Apatow, or one of those Judd Apatow movies, which I'm not even really. What was that
funny.
one with that like fat kid with the curly hair that just lost all that weight?
Oh,
Jude or something.
Was it Superbad?
Like, but even that came out when I was like graduating, and I didn't think it was that great. So like,
yeah,
I don't really
there's
like
no culture during that decade.
No culture.
There's no culture. The 90s where it was that was the last decade that had any sort of meaningful culture that anybody's going to go back and listen to, watch, view, etc. The 2000s just kind of sucked, and everything after September 11th, that truly was, I mean, that date, man, everything just a big slide right down to the fiery pits of hell for our society.
It's odd that my brother, he was actually in the military, like he was born after 9/11, and talking to him about 9/11, it always really just makes, well, I guess just makes me feel old, but also just puts in perspective. Like there's so many kids that their understanding in their world is always a post 9/11 world. There was no before 9/11. There was no watching 9/11. There was no
right
what that day meant to them. But this is home. We're not getting into, we're just old. That's what we're trying to say.
The 9/11 tribute memorial re-education camp podcast. Yes. That's what this is now. No,
but I do. So the Jim Carrey Grinch, last year I decided to actually watch it because I had not seen it since Dollar Movie Days. And you are right. Getting back to your point about it being slightly disturbing, and I can appreciate it as an adult that there is like some kind of campy silliness to it. And I think that Jim Carrey did his best. You know what I mean? Like he did his best that he could do. And I think he really did channel the Grinch. Like he really committed to that role. He really became the Grinch. But there was something about what did Ron Howard make that movie? I think that Ron Howard might be a pervert, because when you watch it, there are so many like perverse and dirty innuendos and jokes that I just think are uncalled for. Like Dr. Seuss did not put a stamp to any perversion in his movie. You know what I'm saying? Yes, no.
Were there any innuendos? Were there any sexual innuendos in the cartoon from 1966?
Yes, I literally despise when I watch something that's supposed to be for families or for children, and there's like some kind of like innuendos and sexual undertones and undercurrents. And that's why I hate Jim Carrey's The Grinch. Like I went and watched it again, and I can see why like a kid might not understand why it's so corrupt and disgusting. Getting back to it, that is such a sign of what's wrong with this country. In 1966, they said, let's take this amazing story that Dr. Seuss wrote, animated, and make it into this cute classic movie for families with a heart of gold story about a curmudgeon who can change his ways and be accepted into the community, and that Christmas doesn't come from a store. And in 1999 or 2000, whatever year it was, we had already devolved into a country where we said, let's take something that's pure and beautiful as it stands, and let's put sexual perversion in it. And that really is what's wrong with this country.
I think it'd be better if they had the Grinch like firebomb Whoville. like that would be more welcome.
That should be a video. Yes, that would be. Like honestly. I honestly think that would be better
if the Grinch just leveled Whoville.
Yes, I completely agree. Like, yeah, he was like, there were no civilians there. But,
right.
Like, yeah, I completely agree. Like, it's just really, it's creepy and disturbing, like you said, when you watch it, because it's icky. It's just icky. Icky's the word when you watch it.
Everything ultimately turns into pornography. Like everything's yes. Pornography. Think about it. Like you turn on your phone, Instagram, that's basically pornography.
Yeah.
YouTube is pornography. Like everything on Netflix. It's
Twitter,
we're just inundated with pornography everywhere we look, essentially.
Yes. And if it's not actual pornography, it's like some kind of pornography.
Oh, it's implied. You know what I'm saying? Everything's implied.
Yes. Yeah. It's absolutely. And like I said, I think that that's what I really hate about it. Like, I think if somebody had to understand, like, no, you took this pure, beautiful, family-friendly movie and story, and you corrupted it and you perverted it. And like, it's just icky, it's grotesque, and that is unacceptable to me.
Doesn't the Grinch say ass in the live action one? I think there's an ass in there.
He probably does.
There's some language.
And honestly, to me, is like the creepiest thing is like the neighbor who's like, you know, breasts are like always like hanging out and kind of like on display. Did Ron Howard make that movie, Opie?
Yeah, I think Opie directed it. Yeah, I'm fairly certain.
He's an anti-American left-wing whack job.
I'm
He's part
sure
of the
he is.
downfall. Did he make the? I'm looking it up right now. I just want to make sure. The Grinch. It says, did is there a Grinch movie 2023? I'm not even getting into that conversation. Yeah, director Ron Howard. Well, he'll get what's coming to him.
I'm looking at the movies that he directed right now, and it's like The Da Vinci Code, The Grinch, A Beautiful Mind, Apollo 13. Like he never really directed any of my favorite films, Ron Howard. I don't know.
Yeah, and the Da Vinci Code, all about how Jesus had a child. Like he's really trying to bring down Western civilization there between the Grinch and the Da Vinci Code.
Would that
He's
have been
really
bad though if
messing with
Jesus did
our
have a child?
um uh well, yeah, I think that that would be problematic, but I think that the Grinch also is very upsetting too. So Ron Howard just doing a lot of harm, in my
Yeah, he's
opinion.
probably part of the whole cult. I haven't really
Yeah,
listened to.
I have a feeling George Soros paid for all these movies to be made. I think he bankrolled all.
I mean, you might not be that far. That might not be that outlandish.
Yeah,
Like right
yeah, I would say.
now, Hollywood is essentially owned by the CCP. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe it'll start to be a little bit better. We can only hope.
Well, how
But
about Disney? Like saying like, yeah, we know we produce garbage and nobody wants to buy it, and we suck. Like they're acknowledging it
yeah,
now. Like, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
we're trash. Like,
yeah.
okay, well,
We're so far off from like what it's kind of like you said, like Walt Disney. Like I feel like Walt Disney would like roll over in his grave, and I feel like
oh,
Dr.
he would.
Seuss would feel the same.
If I could resurrect him and like take him, like walk him like through the theme parks and like show him how this is not a place for mom and dad and children to come and enjoy a relaxing afternoon together. It's really not.
I wanted to look up real quick. We're gonna get to we got to get to this tragic millennial because oddly enough, this is going to include Harry Potter and Disney World or Disney. So I think we need to go. But I remember that Dr. Seuss's wife, who his name was not actually Dr. Seuss, but I feel like I wait, how author Dr. Seuss, who is behind the Christmas classic The Grinch, hated children, was a recluse, and had an affair while his wife was dying from cancer. Okay, well, maybe we're not going to go.
I believe all of it.
All right, maybe in his movie, maybe he wasn't a great person in his movie. Maybe the Jim Carrey Grinch is more representative of the real Dr. Seuss, according to.
By the way, I just have to say that my favorite Dr. Seuss tale was the Sneetches. Are you familiar with the Sneetches?
Yes, the Sneetches. Yeah,
the Starbelly Sneetches and the non-Starbelly Sneetches. It's really it's pretty deep when you.
I have to say that I was told that I was an illiterate or illiterate might be a better term, a literate fool because I did not know the Grouch. There's a monster at the end of this book. My husband was like, "Of course I know that book," and my mother also was like, "Yes, I have that book." Everybody came down on me for not being.
That there's a monster
they acted like I was some kind of uneducated imbecile because I had no idea what you were talking about. Yes, yeah, probably. So I'm kind of like really upset about reading that about Dr. Seuss. So apparently he was some kind of perverse person too. And all right, well, let's stick with, you know what? I'm a fan of really even a big fan of the Grinch as much as I'm a fan of Peanuts. I just want to put that out there. And Charles Schultz was a great guy. So
he was,
yeah.
He was a real one, as he was a real one.
He was sincere. Okay. And that's what I'm not even going to look up Charles Schultz because I don't want to be upset. Like, I don't want to like find out some horrible things. Never meet your heroes, kids. So we want to talk about the tragic millennials. According to Gen Z, these arbiters of cool, these arbiters of apparently tomfoolery,
arbiters of trash,
have taken to TikTok to talk about what a tragic millennial is. So there are 6 signs that you might be a tragic millennial. So I'm going to go through these. Why don't I just do all of them and we can kind of break down what our thoughts are. So number 1, wearing your sunglasses high up on the ridge of your nose. Number 2, wearing your hair in a side parting like this. Like if you wear it like to the side. All right, I'm not going to do that. Which I did for years, I have to say. Also wearing skinny jeans. Using, this one really upset me a lot. Like this one really, using the laughing emoji.
Everybody
like the
does
one with
that.
the cries. Everybody, I know. But like maybe everybody we know are millennials and older. So maybe
That's
we don't
possible.
talk to anything. And I want to know what they use. What do they use to say? I used to always do ha ha because it reminded me of Charlie Brown. So I would do not LOL. I was like ha 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 because it reminded me of like Charlie Brown. You would see it go across the screen when everybody was like laughing at Charlie Brown.
I do ja 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 because there's a large Hispanic population where I live. So I do J A.
Okay.
I'm learning Spanish.
Is that really how you do it in Spanish?
Yeah. J A.
Because yeah, haha,
Yeah.
like because it's okay.
Yeah, I'm adopting.
I'm gonna just start doing that too. Yeah, yeah, we're turning over a new leaf. You know, yo hablo español. Like, let's get this.
I'm learning.
Okay, so this one is liking Harry Potter as a personality trait, which I don't think we ascribe to that, but I know some tragic millennials that definitely do that. Also, this one might occur. This might feel like a personal attack. Being a Disney adult. That means being a grown adult who really likes Disney. So I don't know. I don't feel
I
like
don't even
you're
really like Disney though.
I don't feel like I feel like you just live close enough to visit Disney, but I don't
like
feel
going
like
on
you're
rides. Like I like going on Space Mountain and the Haunted Mansion. I like theme parks, and I grew up going to Disney.
Yeah.
So it's really
I don't consider you like a Disney fanatic. I just consider you like an adult that goes to Disney. But like in your defense, I'm an adult who just went bowling for a combined birthday party for two 36-year-old men. So like, you know what I mean? Like me and my husband are like, yeah, we're going bowling. You know what I'm saying? And like gonna have pizza and go bowling.
Man,
you know, so I'm saying like I don't come down on people for going to Disney. Like I like going to Knoebels,
fun,
you know.
Karen. Like I wish I could be part of a bowling league or a team actually, the more I think about it. Although I'm not that good. I really need to practice because I can never do it without the bumpers.
Yeah, I was actually like, can we get the bumpers? Like, that's where I was at last night. Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Let's get the bumpers. I have no consistency here. But like, so I can't really say that like you going to, but like, I don't feel like Disney is part of like your lifestyle. Whereas I'm sure you know people or you've maybe seen people that Disney is like part of their personality.
Oh, yes.
To those people's defense, I mean, how many people do you know that like being a fan of a football team is their personality trait? Right? Like, why is that acceptable?
Far too many Americans. Too many Americans.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of people that will literally die. Like they will sacrifice themselves for like the New England Patriots, but not like actual freedoms. Like they're more concerned about like, you know, like the Kansas City Chiefs is like a hill they will die on literally before they would die on like for their own family. So
listen, these people who are obsessed with the NFL and football and the Eagles and the Cowboys or whoever, these are people, I mean, they have no idea that we're about to be going under a central bank digital currency and that the dollar is collapsing and that any semblance of freedom that they recognize right now, they're not going to have that pretty soon. And it seems like they're they don't even really want to be let in on what's going on either. No. And by the way, what a stupid game, by the way. I think football is the dumbest. It's not exciting. I don't know. I don't understand how anybody could get excited about it. It's boring. Nobody knows who the hell anybody is. It's like, oh, there's that number and that. No, I can't see their face. I don't know who the hell that is that's running. Like,
yeah. I have to say this. what is going to happen when they remake the Titanic? And these kids,
that might be like my Ted
I knew you would get
Kaczynski
so
moment.
upset.
That might be like my national news, like Colin's on the fucking news right now. Look what he did. Kind of a moment for me.
Just imagine the day when somebody is like, what is your favorite movie? And they're like, the Titanic, the original version with like Charlie D'Amelio or some kind of TikTok star. You know what I mean? Like the original.
Excuse me. I mean? Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's going to happen. Like that will.
No, there
happen.
needs to be like legislation put into place or something that prevents any sort of. There should never be there should not be any sort of movie allowed to be made that deals with the Titanic in any. You're really treading upon sacred grounds here, like truly like the last.
Yeah, that's like building on like a Indian burial ground.
Yeah,
can't do that. You're cursed.
You're right though. It probably is going to happen. They're probably going to remake. I don't know if you could remake it with the same Jack and Rose love story. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure.
Just think about that. They're probably in the works, right? Like right now, there's somebody in a writer's room that's like, listen, we can't make any money. Everything bombs. We can't, these Marvel movies were the only thing keeping the industry alive. And now no one's going to see them. And they just sit there and they sit back and they think, Titanic 2. Do we do Titanic 2?
I'm not an advocate.
I'm serious.
I'm not an advocate for hard drug use normally, but I feel like some of these producers and writers and people in the business really need to do DMT or, even like, whatever gets the creative juices flowing here, because every single good idea couldn't possibly have been done already. Could it have? Like, are we really?
Well, yeah, I think the one studio, I don't even know it's the studio. I don't even know how film works. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know anything, but the one group that I always watch their movies, and I think that they really are the only ones like pushing the envelope or doing anything inventive or creative or new, is A24. I don't know if you saw Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I was just thinking about that movie the other day. I never saw it.
Yeah, you should see it. And that was from A24. I'm trying to think of some other movie. It probably means like Asian 24, because I feel like probably like they're probably like coming from China and they're like actually putting money into the industry and there's like new ideas coming. I don't really know what the background is, but I think I just was about to watch another movie from them. And anytime I see any of their films, I usually think like, or if I watch a trailer and I'm like, that like piques my interest, it's typically one of their movies and documentaries. So I have to say, like, they're definitely, there are creative people out there. I think it's like I always say that to people when they act like there's no good music anymore, or no good music being made. Oh, it's out there. It's just not being elevated. Everything has become so base. It's like everything has to appeal to the lowest common denominator. And like, Jim Carrey's The Grinch or something like that. It's like like you said, we have to make everything pornographic, vanilla, super simple, not very deep. And that's what we're going to elevate to like the highest level, so that like everybody thinks that they can, because it can appeal to like the broadest audience.
This is the Eras tour in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, really, that's really where we're at. So like we're constantly being fed all the same garbage. Is it a Disney movie? I just saw an advertisement. I didn't even actually watch the advertisement. I just saw like a split second of this thing called Candy Cane Lane. Did you see
with Eddie Murphy?
I was like not interested at all. And then I saw Eddie Murphy and I was like, wait, like, is this to pay for like child support, or is this like actually Eddie Murphy wants to be here? Because I love Eddie Murphy. So I was like,
Amazon original.
Oh, it's an Amazon. I wasn't sure if it was Disney or Amazon. So I might watch it because it's free for me to watch, but it's probably horrible. It's probably deeply perverse. It's probably super morally bankrupt, and I'm probably going to hate it and feel bad for Eddie Murphy that he even has to be there.
And I'm sure that there's like some sort of underlying SJW message embedded in there somewhere.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's like, come on, people. Like, just make a good movie and stop like shoving garbage down our throat. Stop remaking movies. But yeah, I get that they're trying to like salvage. It's like radio. I mean, we worked in radio. Like, we know what that's
We
like.
did.
Like it's a dying industry, and people, the executives and the people in the financial departments think like, okay, we're just going to use an algorithm of the, like, why did everybody stop listening to radio? Because there were too many commercials and because they played the same songs all the time. And it's pretty much the same with the movie industry right now, where it's like, let's just play the same movies again and again and again at the big theaters and then wonder why nobody wants to come. Whereas we're already seeing the movement. It's going to YouTube. It's going to smaller creators. And it's the same with radio. It's like everybody's abandoned radio for podcasting. And it's not that people don't want to listen to talk. It's not that people don't want to listen to obscure music. It's not that people don't want these things. Like, you take somebody like Joe Rogan. Like, people are like, oh, people have no attention spans nowadays. Like, Joe Rogan is a 3-hour podcast. Like, oh, people have attention spans. People want to have real discourse. You just don't know how to make that work and make it economically, make $1 million off of it every 4 seconds. So you think that the audience doesn't want that. So I think it's the same with film, that like, we will see creators out, that people are creating really good things. It's just going to take a while for them to get an audience. Like Joe Rogan, it's going to take a while for
You're just
them
not going to your
popular.
local movie theater to see it, basically, is what it boils down to.
Yeah. And what's going to happen? The old guard is going to sit there and attack whatever's coming out that people actually want. You take somebody like Joe Rogan, what do we hear all the time in the news and in the industry or whatever you want, in the media? We need to have important discussions. We need to have conversations. We need to come to a table. And then you see somebody like Joe Rogan, who's like, all right, yeah, let's like actually have a 3-hour conversation from somebody that I don't, necessarily, let's sit down with Bernie Sanders for 3 hours and hear what he has to say. Let's sit down with this doctor who doesn't agree with the narrative, see what he has to say. And they attack him for discourse, for actual conversations. And they don't want us to have conversations. They want us to hear the party line. They want us to hear what Big Brother has to tell us. They want us to hear what Raytheon has to say. And they want us to think that that's gospel, even though we know it's not. And then tell us that we don't believe in dialogue and that we're all, close-minded, narrow-minded bigots that don't, or radicals because we don't want to get some kind of vaccine. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, no, you don't want to have a conversation. And the only person that is really the trailblazer for real discourse in this country is attacked for actually just sitting down and talking to people. They're afraid. They're afraid that people actually want to talk to each other and maybe understand each other, because they stay in power. They perpetuate power by dividing people, by scaring people, by putting people in a sense of fear. Like, you watch the media and I tell my father-in-law all the time, I'm like, turn off Fox News. Okay. It is just perpetuating fear. It is making you afraid. It is putting you in a box, and you need to shut it off, go outside, take a walk, take a breather, and talk to a real live person. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on this tangent. I was trying to be.
Well, no, and by the way, it's not like Fox News is any different than CNN or MSNBC.
No, I mean all of them. Yeah.
No. I was just saying that it's kind of funny how you find some folks who lean conservative or whatever, or are Republicans, and they watch Fox News, but it's like these people you're watching on Fox News, they're part of the whole, they're trying to trick you too. They're trying to muddy the waters too. There's really, if you have corporate trash media on, you're gonna be fed everything that they want you to hear. And what do you think? Let me ask you this, Karen. We referenced it earlier with the little white lung. What, do you think they could ever get us back into lockdown mode? I guess depending upon the severity of whatever it is that's going around, like this new pneumonia or whatever that's circulating in China. Word on the street is that it affects kids now, which is what our buddy Billy Boy, he always, if you go back and watch those interviews, Mr. Gates, he said, well, the next one's really going to get their attention because it's going to target children. Like he's like literally salivating as he's saying this.
I do understand, like you said, like, would we be in lockdown? I think that there would just be, I think it's possible? Yeah, absolutely. They have all power to lock us down again. Now, will there be more of a resistance? Definitely. There would be more of a resistance. But
I think so too.
I think that would they be able to do it? Yeah, without a doubt. They would be able to lock us down again. I don't even want to, I think that maybe we could get into a conversation. I saw, I was going through when I was on a plane, I sometimes like delete photos from my phone. And I saw this crazy meme from like somebody shared from like 2021. And it basically said what you were saying. They're like, this new Omicron, it was like a meme someone I know shared, like this new Omicron, it's affecting people differently. It's affecting kids. And like I ended up getting COVID like 2 months after that, or within a month of when that person posted it. And, you know, being like a highly immunosuppressed person, like it wasn't different. It was actually less severe. So but the way this meme was written was just so concerning. Like it was so fear mongering and really like threatening you for not like getting in with whatever. And this was not in 2020. This was in like the end of 2021 when this person was sharing this meme, like, you better watch, it's going to kill you this time. And you're like, whoa, like this is scary. Like it really was like it was really like a mass hysteria, I think, on like both sides in a way where it's like, I still to this day, like, don't even know what I believe about any of it. You know, like I don't even know.
I don't know either.
I have no idea. And like you said, like what really concerned me is that the measures were so far sweeping and so strong that if a real virus or some kind of outbreak or infection really did threaten our society and our population, like how many people are not going to believe that they should really take precaution? Like
the old cried wolf syndrome.
Yeah. I think the difference is like, get it. I understand that like nowadays, like people are really self-centered. Like I do agree with that. Like if you look back at like World War II and you think about like the rationing that took place and like just a lot of like what people did on the home front, like there was like, I believe like a more of a collective and selfless understanding and just a way people came together as community. So yeah, I do feel like we have a loss of that, but it wasn't, I don't know. I'm not a historian necessarily, but like, I do feel like in some ways, voluntarily, people should be able to come together and say, okay, I think this is what's best for our community. But voluntarily, not in a mandatory sense. I think that we should be, but I feel like what's really the problem now is that we have a complete and utter loss of respect or belief for what our government tells us. I think that people do not, and rightly so. They have a lot of reasons not to believe.
Well, they're known liars. Yeah. They're serial liars. You can't believe a serial liar.
Yeah. And I think that that's like, there's like a complete, and I think the louder they beat the drum that like, these are all lies and this is fake news and this isn't, we're moving into an era where it's like nobody knows what truth is. And it's like a lot, the waters are so much muddier and murkier, and it's a lot harder to navigate. And like, honestly, like sometimes I just like, even like in my job, like I tell my boss, I'm like, we need to just like pray for discernment, because like I don't even know who to trust anymore. I don't know I don't know who's a snake out there and who's telling the truth. I mean, you look at like all of these, there's been times where like articles come out about Trump and I'm like, oh, like maybe he really did this or maybe he did that. And then I'm like, oh no, he didn't really do, like he really wasn't doing what they were accusing of him now. But sometimes I'm like, can we trust that guy? Can we trust this person? I certainly don't trust Biden. I will say that 100%. Okay. Like he is not trustworthy whatsoever.
I think that he is the greatest commander in chief that this fair country has ever seen. And I think that if we're fortunate, we will get another 4 years, as long as people have their heads screwed on right. And
absolutely,
we have to stop fascism, Karen. We have to stop. This democracy is on the ballot next year. This election is going to be here before you know it. And I just want you to remember that democracy is on the ballot.
Okay,
so
I will. Democracy. Please. Yeah, I'll be thinking about that. I'll be thinking like definitely want Joey B here to defend and could. I think that Gavin. We'll talk about this next time. It's getting late, but is Gavin going to be?
He said he wasn't.
We're really not going to talk about this next time, because next time we're going to be talking about, it's going to be deeper into the Christmas season. And that is where our mind is. I think we need to continue. I think really for the future democracy, we need to educate the children that do not watch this podcast or do not tune in. We need to continue to educate them about the Christmas classics, Christmas traditions. Tradition is what is going to keep this country thriving. And I think next episode, who cares about Gavin Newsom, the Batman villain that he is, we need to focus on what really matters. And that is, basically a pagan holiday that has been co-opted by corporate consumerism, but it gives us a false sense of community hope and future and Americana. So I think that's our focus. I think that's where our focus. I think that's what is our duty. I think that's our American duty for us to do that, to educate the Jim Carrey, not the original. Maybe Dr. Seuss cheated on his wife that was plagued by cancer, but still, great
we
message.
Don't even know the full story. Maybe she was a real bitch, like diagnosis or not. I'm just saying you could still be a miserable
a little
person.
difficult. Yeah.
I'm just saying. That's all.
Exactly. Just saying. So, well, it's been nice correcting some wrongs that the Gen Zers are trying to afflict on our society. I think that we've done some good trying to correct those wrongs.
Did we determine if we're tragic millennials or not, though? I mean, I'm not.
My sister a couple of years ago made me part my hair differently. So I did correct that. I do wear, I guess I've got 3 of the 6 going on. Wait. I've got 2 of the 6. I have 2 of the 6. Yeah. You don't, the side part is more of a female thing. I definitely use the laughing emoji, and I do wear my sunglasses high on my face. So
what do they mean high on your face? Like, there's only one way to wear glasses.
I think that they wear them like lower, like here, like kind of like edgy and like, but that hurts. That bothers my nose. It makes my nose itch. So I will not be.
You're supposed to be shielding your eyeballs from the harmful UV rays of the giant ball of gas.
Yeah. We'll see how they do in a couple of years when they've got wrinkles and, stigmatisms. We'll see. We'll see how they're doing.
This is one screwed up generation that we're dealing with. Let me tell you.
Yeah, we got to set them straight.
Yeah, we're gonna bring back real family values and traditions. Like,
bowling in your 30s
bowling in your 30s and breaking off a piece of the oplaki at Christmas Eve, Holy Supper. I don't know if you do that or not. Do you pass the oplaki around?
No. So I think next episode we're gonna have to talk about that. We'll have to talk about some food traditions. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into all that because it is December 3rd, so we've got a ways to go. But thank you all for tuning into this humble little podcast that Karen and I are attempting to do each week. We did it today, Karen, like you said. This is the first time in a while where we've met up 2 weeks in a row. So with any luck, with God's grace and good fortune and blessings, we'll be here next weekend to talk all about whatever comes to our delicate little minds here. This lovely holiday season, living in the greatest country in the world. So, on that note, everybody have a lovely weekend and a lovely work week, and we'll see you next week on the Re-Education Camp. Take care.